All right, hey guys, I actually just filmed the ending of this video, so now I'm filming the intro because I like to do things out of order. But yeah, no, before we get into it, gonna show the setup off. I tried about 5 or 6 different setups, different theories, tested some different things, and honestly, I kept reverting back to the very first one I built and posted on Discord earlier. So if you want these setups early, hop in the Discord. There'll be a link in the description. I do share what I have as quick as possible and then kind of work and evolve it. Sometimes I put out updates, sometimes I don't. This is one of those weeks where I put in triple the effort, but literally kind of kept going back to square one, which is a little bit annoying, but also not too bad because I feel like I'm happy with what I got. So we'll jump in, do the setup, jump to the hot lap, then the track walk, and then after the track walk, I have like a little speech where I kind of describe my plans for the future, what's going on with the channel. Just FYI, I will be missing next week in PCC. I'm not going to do a setup. I'm not going to do a track guide, and I'm going to put all my focus towards the Nürburgring 24. Not sure what content I'm going to do around that yet, but we got that coming up. If you want to join the team, we might still have some openings available. Jump in the Discord, let us know. We're not trying to like set the world on fire, go out and win. We just want to go all 24 hours, minimal incidents, and have some fun. So if you feel comfortable with the M2 and getting around there, you want to join up, we still might have some spots available. If not, we might be able to try to cobble together a second team. And I like to do special events in the future with the Discord community. Again, it's not about performance as much as it is about having fun and just having a good time. Which I know is just saying having fun twice. But with that, yeah, accidentally stopped recording there. Sorry for the weird cut. Let's look at the setup here, and then we'll get into the hot lap. As far as the setup goes, dry tires, 26.5 on the left front, 26 on the right front, 26.5 on the left rear, 26 on the right rear. This track really abuses that right side. You can see hot pressures after 3 laps. They were almost equal on the front and rear. As the race goes on, the right sides are going to build up. Actually, I'm totally dumb. Right sides are already got more pressure than the lefts, even though the left started with more. Metric settings for all the metric using folks. All right, now over to the chassis side. 2 on the front roll bar. Track is very smooth. Toe in, -12. I don't remember what week we found using a lot of negative toe worked, but it makes the car real stable on entry. It does abuse the front tires, but this car naturally abuses the rear tires. So it really keeps a good balance front to rear. As far as my ride heights, I am running a little higher this week. I'm not running at the bare minimum, and that's simply because of this transition here coming off the infield back onto the NASCAR track on the front stretch. Very rough transition, so that's what we're running there. I'm running 1028s on the front, 971s in the rear, standard spring package. I did experiment making that harder. I might play with it more next season. There's something there, but I feel like there's other things I would have to adjust to make that work. So just that's part of the experimentation I did this week. Shocks 5.4. That seems to be a good balance. Excuse me, guess what's in my throat. I did go to some extremes with the shocks in testing this week, and I still kind of fell back to that 5.4 combo. Something about the less than max camber in the rear allowed me to run a lesser split on the damping, and it feels like it just works. I did all my experimentation, thought I was liking the setup, went back to my baseline setup and immediately found 3/10. So I do really believe in this. As far as rear camber, I'm running -2.9, which allows me to run a very minimal toe. Again, if you change the camber, you have to change the toe. after the fact, or it's going to fail tech. Fuel level 8.7. I feel like I'm pushing it this week. Not as aggressive as I was pushing it in week 1. But if you want to throw it to 9 gallons, feel free to. I feel like 8.7, it's what I'm going to run. If I do run out, I will add a note to the video and get that updated. But yeah, that's where we're at there. 1 on the rear ARB, negative 1.5 on the wing. I did actually play around with some negative 4. I honestly, like, even looking at telemetry, I don't see a big difference between the two. This is higher downforce. I feel like it just builds a little confidence. And even if 4 maybe like marginally faster, I'd rather have the extra confidence in the 1.5. And I honestly feel like they're the same, honestly. But yeah, no, that's the setup. I'm going to swap it over to metric here. Give you all a second to copy that down. We'll jump into the hot lap. Hot lap was a 131.54 and the track temp was 111 Fahrenheit. My best overall lap, and I'll hit done here. My best overall lap was a 130.998 or optimum, and my actual best lap was a 131.522 to a 535. The lap I do is actually, I believe, a 546. I thought that was a cleaner overall lap. There was one corner I messed up, but you'll see that when I do the track guide. But thanks for watching. Enjoy the hot lap, and feel free to jump to the end if you want to know my plans going into next season. But yeah, thank you.
That was your fastest lap of the session.
All right, thank you for clicking on the video. Gonna go through the track walk here. Trying a couple new things, so this has taken a little longer this week, so I'm sorry for this video coming out just before the session reset. It's actually 4:30 Eastern on Monday, and I'm still working on this. But I was trying some new things, so hopefully you guys like them. But let's go through the track walk here. Hot lap was a 131.5. Let's see here. I can remember 131.546. The lap after I did a 131.535, but I felt it was a little sloppier in a couple areas, and there was really only one corner that I did better. So I'd rather show you this lap and then just let you know what I messed up on, rather than showing you a sloppier lap that just had one good corner. Track temp at the time was 111 degrees Fahrenheit. I did do some practice in some wet conditions. If this week is anything like what I'm expecting, I think it'll be a lot more like Willow Springs, where it's going to be primarily dry. It might start a little damp, but just be primarily dry. Or rain will come in at some point during the race. I don't expect Watkins Glen level of wetness. And I don't expect the level of wetness we saw at Mosport. On the wet tire at 17% track wetness, and then even at 33% track wetness, I was getting like 137s, 138s on the wet tire. In the same conditions, I was getting 134s on the dry tire. So it's 35 seconds to change your tire. That doesn't count the time coming down pit road, exiting pit road. I just don't foresee it being so bad that you'll have to come in and pit. Now, as soon as you see puddles start to form, it's up to you. Use your best judgment on pitting. But from what I'm expecting, looking at the weather and knowing how it's been this season, I'm banking on this session being primarily dry. But with that out of the way, let's do the track walk. I'm already off topic here. But yeah, no, turn one, pretty straightforward. What I like to do is I like to kind of aim towards this wall right over here. In fact, let me get the lap data out of the way. But yeah, no, I like to aim towards that wall. Turn one is super straightforward. I believe I lift a little bit. I don't know if I even lift a little bit here. Let's see if I know how to do this right. Yep, I don't lift at all going into turn one. The big thing is just get close to that pit wall. And turn 2, 3, well, really turns 2 and 3 can be interconnected. So turn one's pretty straightforward. Coming off of turn one, I like to aim for this rumble strip you see over here. You don't want to hit it. You just want to aim for it. Once I start getting, I'm going to slow-mo here. Once I start getting to that rumble strip, I start releasing brake pressure and putting more wheel into the car. Trail braking down to the apex of turn 2. I could have got a little closer to the curb there. This wasn't my best lap, but I feel like it's a good lap to kind of show you what marks to hit. But yeah, trail brake down from, I'm going to say, if we go back here for a moment, I really use, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I want to brake before the transition of the asphalt there. So yeah, right about here, I start putting pressure on. So I'm definitely on the brakes before that transition, but trail brake, the more wheel you put into it, you got to release brake pressure to allow it to turn. And it's really a fine dance all the way down to turn 2. Exit of turn 2 is deceptive. You want to swing wide, use as much of the track as possible. Don't put your right sides into the grass. If you put your right sides into the grass, it's pretty much game over as soon as you brake for turn 3. I get right up to it. But as soon as I'm pretty much in line with that track, I'm already braking and actually getting down to second gear for turn 3. I would say you really want to shift down to second gear late, and you just want to use it to get a little extra rotation. I get up on the curb here a little bit. The curb's not going to upset the car. I did set the car up to be a little higher here because of the final corner. But yeah, that's kind of what you're dealing with there in turn 3. Turn 3, you want to stick to the left as much as possible. I keep about 40 to 50% throttle the entire time as I'm rotating around there. The big thing is you need to be all the way over to the left to maximize turn 4. And turn 4 is much more important than turn 3 because it leads to a long straightaway. There's a little kink of turn 5. I don't really even count that as a turn. But yeah, you want to stick to the inside here as much as possible going through turn 3. Can't even think here. I pretty much shift up to third right away on the exit of that corner. I really only use second gear to kind of get the car to rotate. With the last update, the car's less aggressive shifting between gears, so you can use second gear a little bit more. There's actually 2 spots on this track you want to use second gear. But turn 4, you kind of fall into a hole. So I'm trail braking, and I don't really get back to the throttle until the car lands in this kind of valley. Just Gonna switch to in-car cockpit view for just a second. I think the cockpit view shows it off a little better than the outside car view. I am really just dancing on the brake, turning the wheel, getting down to the apex, and then as soon as I feel like I'm in the hole and the car is settled, it's get to the power 70-80%. Once you feel the car is settled, get back to 100. A little bit of counter steer there, not much. Looking out the windshield here, that is turn 5. It is a light little kink. I wouldn't even count it as a turn. But that's turns 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Turn 1 super simple. Turn 2 is pretty tricky. 3 isn't too bad if you set up turn 5. I'm sorry. Turn 3 isn't too bad if you set up turn 2 properly, the exit of turn 2. And because you have to properly set up turn 4, turn 3 is one of the easier turns in my opinion. There's no need to pressure yourself, no need to rush through it, no need to race back to the throttle because you're just right back into turn 4, and turn 4 is really where you're going to find a lot of your time. But yeah, no, back here. So I'm going to call that sector 1 of the track. Going here, going into turn 6. Turn 6 is deceptively tricky. I think you might see some people lock up and push wide here. The track is a little off camber, and I would treat turn 6 and 7 as a combination. You want to hit the entry of 6 right, but if you hit turn 6 right, turn 7 becomes really kind of a continuation of turn 6. But I get on the brakes, I believe, just a little before or right at the 300 meter board. So yeah, right at the 300 meter board there. I'm on the brakes. I'm applying the brakes off the throttle. Go down. I believe you're going to go from 5th to 4th to 3rd here. I experimented with 2nd gear here. You can make 3rd gear work and you're better off. But consistent, reliable brake pressure all the way down. Start releasing pressure as you start to turn in to get grip back to the front wheels. And pretty straightforward. You're going to get down to the apex and apply throttle on exit. The exit of 6, you want to swing wide, maximize your track, because turn 7's kind of tight with this car. I played around a lot with the setup, probably more than I have all season, and nothing I did made turn 7 feel more stable. If I experimented with something, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. That's just part of building a setup. But one of the things I kind of kept an eye on is what made turn 7 feel a little bit better. And nothing really made a difference. But on the exit of 6, you're going to swing wide. And then I'm actually going to switch back to the cockpit view for this one. I feel like this gives you a better view. As you turn into 7, you don't want to get right to the curb right here right away. You want to be patient and let it swing, and you want to get to the curbing a little later in the turn. The problem is if you turn in too early and you get to the curbing right away, the car is really, really bound up and it's going to want to snap. So that's just one thing I would say just be mindful of is don't attack the curb too early. You want to get to the curb, but you want to get to it late in the corner. From here, you're going to dance it. You can see there, I even got some counter steer and I'm a little bit out of the throttle. Once the tires come up to temperature, this turn's actually not super, super bad. It's just like maybe the first 3 or 4 laps that it's a little sketchy on exit where you might have to counter steer a little bit. And I'm at 110 degree track temp or 111 right in there. Practicing with the lower track temp made it less severe, although it made it the car would turn in better when the track was cooler. So you had to actually tame yourself on entry, because if you attack the entry too much, then it wanted to snap. But usually after a few laps, it should go away. The right side tires on this car just get abused around the lap here. Looking at the corners, I don't really know why, to be quite honest. Turn 1, super simple. Turns 2 and 3 abuse the right side some. 6 and 7 abuse the left. 8 abuses the right side. 10 and 11 kind of do as well. I don't feel like 10's too bad on it. I think what it is the rough transition from 13 onto the NASCAR surface. I think something about that bump just really abuses the right side tires. But yeah, let's get back on topic here. Coming out of 7, you're going to be dancing the car a little bit for a few laps, but then it should settle. Turn 8 is, I think, one of the trickiest ones on the track solely because they don't give you any brake markers. What I typically use is the pole right here. That pole, I think, well, how should I word this here? In fact, let's go to the cockpit camera because I think that does a little bit better job of showing what I'm trying to explain. The gap between this pole and the roof bar is typically what I use. I did notice while working on these videos, you can use the trees. Boom, 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 back to outside of the car, chase. You can use, let me back up just a little bit. You can use the end of these trees if you have triple monitors. I just kind of sight where I am with that pole. You obviously don't want to hit the brakes where the pole is. You want to do it earlier. But I feel like I'm not doing a great job describing this. There's just not a good brake marker. Like I said, if you use the trees on your peripheral, that works. If not, just use the pole. And when I'm getting on the brakes right here from the cockpit view, I have a good sign of that light pole. And it's basically the same length from it to the ground is from there to the roll bar. So I guess once it kind of fills up half of that space available, I don't know how to explain it. It's just in my brain. That pole is what I use as a reference point. Even though we're not braking at it, we're braking before it. So hopefully that's helpful. Again, I do apologize. I feel like I'm not describing this very well. But I'm doing my best. But yeah, back to turn 8. It is a second gear corner. Basically going to go from 5th, 4th, 3rd. I would recommend, and we'll see if we can see the backfire here. I wouldn't go down to second gear until you were on the turn-in process. Let's see if we can see from the cockpit camera. I don't know if my steering wheel. So yeah, right there. Actually, I'm in. Okay, so yeah, I'm getting into second gear just before I turn in. You actually are going slow enough in this corner that second gear actually makes sense. Using second gear over in turn 3 is about the rotation. You, in theory, could make that work in third gear. It might bog a little bit, but you're not dying to get the power down. But turn 8, you actually want to use second gear because you want it to pull. Now, I messed this corner up here in this lap. This was the corner that really kind of killed some lap time. I think I gave up like maybe a tenth and a half here. I turn into sharp, and I'm getting back to the throttle. And I really think that's because I downshift into second when I do. If I would have downshifted into second a little bit later and carried more momentum while in third gear, I would have attacked this a little bit quicker, not cut it as sharp, and would have been able to get the power down a little bit better. But that is exit of turn 8. They consider this turn 9. It's literally a straightaway. I don't know why. Pretty straightforward here. Now this one gets a little tricky. I turn in just before those cones there. You can see I'm right up against the wall, maximizing the arc. And I really start to turn in before those 3 cones. What I'm aiming for in car is this gap here at the very end. And let me go slow motion here. You can get a slowdown penalty here. You got to be careful. If you don't touch the grass, you're pretty much safe from a slowdown penalty. But turn 10, I really like turn 10. I feel like you're going to see a lot of people make mistakes here. It's very deceptive. And I think the reason why, and I think Chase Cam will show this a little bit better. As you come through here, you have curbing. That curbing there on the side is very inviting, but it doesn't connect all the way through. So you have curb, grass, curb. If the curbing connected all the way through, I think this turn becomes 1,000 times easier because you'll just see the curb, you take the turn like you would expect. But the problem is, I think I do clip the grass here. Actually, I don't. The problem is if you go all the way out to that curb and then all of a sudden you're in the grass, and that's in the braking zone of where you want to be braking for turn 11. So really treat that curb as if it's grass. You don't want to hit that curb. If you do, you got to get back onto the track. The weight of the car is upset. You have to try to settle it, then get to the brakes, and it just makes turns 11 and 12 a lot harder. Because turn 11 is a weirdly slow corner than what you would expect. Maybe it's just the track map I'm looking at. But for some reason, when I sight it, I expect it to be a little bit quicker, but it is a third gear and kind of a low RPM third gear corner. You can pretty much trail brake to the apex here. That would be preferred. I missed the apex a little bit. Again, this ain't my best lap I've done all week. But I felt like it was consistently clean. I think I missed it because of the track temp, honestly. My best lap was like a 31 flat, but that was at like a 77-degree track temp. Session did cool down. But back on topic here. Turn 11, you just want to get down. It's very deceptive. Try to use the exit to carry momentum, but don't get too aggressive on this curb here on the exit of 11, because you have to get back across the track to the left to set up turn 12. Turn 12's not too bad. Just try to straighten yourself up as much as possible for 13 right here. I feel like I could have been a little straighter through there, been more aggressive on the curb. The problem is the fact that you have to basically get back across the track and then hit the apex. So you're never going to really hit it straight, but try to hit it as straight as possible. Wait for the weight to settle, flip it back around. That is turn 13. And then I believe they count turn 14 coming onto the NASCAR surface. This is extremely tricky. You want to hit it at the sharpest angle possible. And you can hit it at an angle. It's going to be a smoother transition. The car does still get upset. You don't want to hit it straight. So turn 13 is going to be very enticing to just hammer down. Because it's like, it's the last corner. I'm coming onto the NASCAR track. Like, the banking's going to hold me. Yes, but you got to get onto the banking. So as you come off of turn 13 here, dance the throttle a little bit. I actually get a little bit of oversteer here, getting back to the throttle, and it does upset the car some. But just don't hit the NASCAR surface head on. You got to kind of hit it at an angle. So that is a lap around Homestead Road Course A. Hopefully that was helpful. I am filming this a little out of order, so I might say this a little out of order, but thank you for everyone who has supported these videos all season. I got the setup in the Discord. I'm about to record that, and it's probably going to be at the start of the video for the setup. But back on track here. It really means a lot to me, all the subscribers and everyone who's joined the channel, joined the Discord, and who's helped make this possible. I will be taking next week off. I won't do a track guide or have a setup for next week. I am going to be putting all my attention towards the Nürburgring 24. We do have a team together. I'll share the setup I have for that as we get closer, as we keep working on it. But I'm scheduled a couple weeks off this season, just so I wouldn't get burnt out. But with the success of these videos and all the new subscribers, I felt really compelled to push myself, and I did get burnt out. So I just, I want to kind of have an easy week next week. I do plan on doing a lot of week 13 content. Just want to show off what's new, what's going on. And I don't want to be burnt out going into the Nürburgring 24. I want to have fun with everybody who's going to be doing that. A lot of people from the channel. And that's kind of my plan. So I just want to kind of give you a heads up there. Going into next season, I am going to really pinpoint 8 or 9 weeks of PCC that I'm really going to focus on doing the setup and the track guide. I don't want to burn myself out, and I want to improve the quality of what I'm doing. I've had a lot of ideas, but going from idea to reality is a little bit challenging, especially I'm very picky with how I do things. And I know some things can be done, some things can't be done, but the way I've been kind of going this season, I've kind of burnt myself out. And anytime I try to do something new or add a little bit to these videos, it messes up my workflow, it slows it down, and that's even why this video has been delayed this week. I'm definitely going to have this live before the new season or the new week starts, but just kind of a heads up there. So yeah, next season I'm going to pinpoint 8, maybe 9 weeks. I do have a family trip, so there's going to be 1 week that I'm going to miss whether I want to or not. So that makes that a little easier. But that's my plan there. On those off weeks, though, I am going to try to jump into the Porsche Cup car. I think next season will be my last season of doing PCC with the M2. As far as like consistent and weekly. And then the season after that, I think I'm going to evolve to the Porsche Cup car. I am scared of that car. I can get it around the track, but I'm slow. And those races are super aggressive and competitive. But I think it's what I need to do to kind of grow as a driver and as a person. I got to challenge myself, work on getting better. And I think that might be the perfect series to do that. Races will probably be a little more aggressive, and I'll probably change my format a little bit going into that. But that's kind of my plan on the road side. For oval and open wheel stuff, I do want to pick maybe 2 or 3 weeks next season and run for the Indy Open. Try to make the broadcast split on, I believe, Monday night, assuming they're still doing that Monday night. And I'll work on setups for that. And I think I'm just going to do a series following that journey. Again, everything I built setup wise, I'll share. That goes for the Porsche Cup car, the M2, the Indy car. I also like to kind of pinpoint some dirt oval races. Running with Gavin in the non-wing sprint car, or his time slot. I really enjoyed that, although I was sick for 1 week and then put it off another week. So I kind of want to get a mixture of content, but I think one more season of the M2, but one more very focused season. Really pinpointing which time slots I'm going to race, try to find the biggest strength of field, and really pushing myself, and then go full try hard in the Porsche Cup, while still trying to have other fun events mixed in there. So that's kind of an update. It's kind of long-winded there, but my plans going in to next season. Again, sorry there's not going to be a guide and setup for next week, but we're looking forward to the 24. I'm not sure how I'm going to document that, and I'll do a week 13 video once we have the schedule and share all that with you guys and go more in depth on everything. But thank you for everyone who's watched these. Thank you for all the support, everyone who gave me setup advice. I really, really appreciate it. I know I say that a lot, but it's true. I never thought that when I started making videos again that I would get anybody to watch them, but I feel like I've made some good friends in the last 6 months, however long it's been, and I'm very grateful on that. And I just want to let you guys know, thank you very much. I gotta go film the setup side of this, edit this video together, and you guys have a great day.